Hi guys, my name's Sharon. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. I've got some really important information if you're planning a cruise or you're planning a holiday to the European Union in 2025. There have been some major changes and you're going to want to watch this video. So this video is for people who are from countries that have never needed a visa to travel to the European Union. So I'm from England, I'm from the UK, and we could travel freely throughout Spain, Greece, Italy, Germany, throughout Europe, we've been able to travel. The same, I believe, is true of Canada and of the US and also Australia, that you've been able to travel freely without needing a visa to travel to these places. So this video is for us. It's for those in that category. There are some other countries as well that fall into that category. You'd need to check for your country. These changes are planned for 2025. Initially, they was due to, I think, be in place by 2020. Then it got delayed. Each year it kept getting delayed. But now they seem to have everything in place for early 2025 to mid 2025. So if you've got any Mediterranean trips booked, if you've got any cruises booked, anything in 2025, you need to pay attention, because if you don't do what you need to do prior to travel, you will not be allowed to go on your cruise, you will not be allowed to go on your flight. So it's really, really important. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to complete what's called an ETIAS, E-T-I-A-S. It's very similar to the ESTA form that us from the UK have to complete before we travel to the US. You provide your passport details, your criminal history details, and they will check against a database to make sure that you pose no threat to their country. So providing you're not a threat and you don't have a criminal history, then you should get a reply back within minutes, up to an hour it says, if it's a very straightforward process, if there's nothing that they need to check. If they need to check something a little bit further, then it can take 96 hours. So it can take 4 days before you will hear. It could even take longer than that if they've got a concern and you have to have a face-to-face meeting. But it says 95% of us should get an answer within a few minutes. So the process is very simple. Once you've completed the form online, you'll receive an email confirmation, and then they do the checks. You have to make the payment, which is €7. So for us in the UK, it's £5 something. It isn't expensive. And the ETIAS does last for 3 years, or to when your passport runs out. So if you've only got 2 years left on your passport, then the ETIAS will last for 2 years. And when your passport is renewed, you will need to apply again for another ETIAS to travel to the European Union. Just a further comment with regards to the payment. If you're under the age of 18 or over the age of 70, then you don't need to make the payment. You will still need to get an ETIAS, but you will not have to pay for it. It's just going to be a case of remembering to do it. Could I just say, guys, if you're new here, if you could subscribe to the channel, I'd be really grateful. I do cruise and travel vlogs. I'm only just starting out in the travel industry on YouTube, but I have worked for years. I do have a travel background. So yeah, if you could subscribe, it would really help, and hope to see you on some of my vlogs. But back to ETIAS. Once you receive your ETIAS, you need to check the details. Check your name spelt correctly, check your passport details are right, because the border force of the country will not allow you in if it's not correct. And if your ETIAS is refused for some reason, there is an appeal process. So just to summarise what the ETIAS is, it's an entry requirement for visa-exempt nationals travelling from the countries that I posted earlier. It's linked to your passport and it's valid for up to 3 years or until your passport expires, depending what comes first. It's really for short stay, usually up to 90 days. There's no guarantee that you will gain entry though. So when you arrive, you provide your passport and the document to the border guard, and then they will allow you into the country. So which travellers are affected? So it's all visitors who have previously travelled visa-free to Europe. So that would include visitors from the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. I'm from the UK. I've been able to travel throughout Europe my entire life visa-free, but we have now left the EU. So because of this, we will definitely need to have an ETIAS before we can travel. The application process is going to be really simple. You complete an online application form, it will do some biometric travel and security related questions, and then usually it gets processed within 96 hours. You'll get an email with authorization on it. They will check your passenger data against lots of databases, including no-fly list. They will identify any potential terrorist or criminal threats, and if that's the case, you will be refused entry. Most applications will be processed within an hour. Once your ETIAS has been approved, then you will be able to travel freely throughout the countries that it covers. Once you've applied, you'll receive an email confirming the submission of your application. It'll include a unique application number. Make sure you keep that safe for future reference. Once the application has been processed, you'll receive another email informing you about the outcome. And when you get your ETIAS travel authorization, make sure you double check all the details on it. Make sure the name, the passport number, and all the information is correct. Because if there is a mistake, then you will not be allowed to cross the border. If you do get refused, the email will provide the reason on the decision, and it'll also inform you onto how you can appeal. I have been through most of this. I just wanted to draw your attention to that last paragraph. I know it has caught a lot of people out. You need to make sure that your passport is valid for 3 months after your intended departure from the European countries that require ETIAS. If you don't, you will be refused entry at the border. So that's it, guys. That's all the details that we have up to now. We're not sure the exact date when everything's going to come into place. We just know it's going to be 2025. It looks like they have got things in motion now. So we're looking at, they say the first or the second quarter of 2025. So I would like to think that it will end up on the news and that all these details will be all over the news so none of us will forget. But we do have a bit of responsibility ourselves to make sure the entry requirements of the country that we're travelling to. So keep this in your mind. Now that you've seen this video, it'll be there in the back of your mind. Any upcoming trips that you've got to Europe, I hope you enjoy them. If you've got any cruises, I'm very jealous because I do love my cruises. And like I said before, I do cruise vlogs, I do holiday vlogs, and I hope to see you in the near future.